20 years of silence. One hidden photo. The truth was never buried. Just waiting. A Helena Monroe story. The Lake House Pact. Chapter 1. The photo. The envelope was unmarked. No return address, no handwriting, just a plain, ivory rectangle waiting in Rebecca Crossley's mailbox, like a ghost. She nearly tossed it with the rest of the junk mail, but something about the weight made her pause. It was heavier than a card, stiffer than paper. She tore it open with her thumb. Inside, a single photograph. The image was grainy, aged, and sunlit. 6 people stood on a dock, backs to the lake. Rebecca recognized all of them immediately. Max, Lena, Tristan, Heather, Cam, and Adam. Her breath caught. Adam Crossley, her brother, smiling, alive. But that couldn't be. Adam had vanished 20 years ago during their high school graduation trip. One moment he was at the lake house, the next he was gone. Presumed drowned in a storm that swept the region. His body had never been found. Rebecca pressed the photo closer, studying every detail. It wasn't from that night. Adam looked older, maybe 23 or 24. A little beard on his chin. Lines at the corners of his eyes. The timestamp on the back said 2010. She staggered backward into the kitchen chair, heart hammering in her chest. Who sent this? And why now? Helena Monroe stared at the photo, then at the woman seated across from her. Where exactly did you say this came from? She asked. My mailbox, Rebecca replied. Her voice was steady, but thin, like glass under pressure. No note, no name, just this. They sat in Helena's office, windows drawn, the faint hum of traffic bleeding through the brick walls. Helena turned the photo over. She'd seen her share of anonymous tips, some credible, most not. But something about the faces, their posture, the way Adam stood slightly apart from the rest. You believe this photo is real? Helena asked. Yes, Helena noted the immediate, unwavering response. Rebecca wasn't guessing. She was certain. And you were how old when your brother disappeared? 14? He was 18? We were close. I remember every detail of that summer. Helena nodded, jotting a few notes. You said it was a graduation trip? Yes. The 6 of them went to his friend Max's lake house. There was a storm. They said Adam went out alone and never came back. They searched the water, the woods. Nothing. The police ruled it an accident. And you never saw or heard from him again? Rebecca shook her head. Not once, until now. Helena studied the photo again. The timestamp placed it 2 years after Adam's disappearance. Someone had lied. Maybe all of them. She leaned back. If he was alive in 2010, that means he chose not to come back. The question is, why? Rebecca's expression shifted from sadness to something sharper. I don't know, but I want to find out. Helena tapped her pen on the desk. That lake house? Still standing? Yes. It's been converted into a wellness retreat. One of the others from the group, Lena Pike, owns it now. Helena raised an eyebrow. Convenient. Rebecca slid the photo across the desk. Can you help me, Ms. Monroe? Please. I need to know what happened to my brother. Helena didn't answer right away. She felt it again, that quiet pull at the edge of her mind, the energy that sometimes came before a case unraveled. Not a vision, not a voice, just a shift, a knowing. She slid the photo into a folder. I'll take the case. But if we find him, you need to be ready. He may not be the brother you remember. Rebecca nodded. I'm not the sister he left behind either. Chapter 2, Ripples. Helena didn't head straight to the lake. First, she made a detour. The county archives sat in a low, beige building that smelled like old paper and mildew. It was quiet, except for the hum of the overhead lights and the occasional clack of a keyboard. She requested the police file from Adam Crossley's disappearance. The woman behind the desk raised an eyebrow, but fetched the records without question. The file was thin, just over a dozen pages. The original missing person report, a few witness statements, search area maps, and a death in absentia notice issued by the county 2 years later. No autopsy, of course. No body. But the assumption had been clear. Storm, intoxication, tragic accident. Helena flipped to the witness statements. All 5 of Adam's friends had given versions of the same story. He'd gone out to the dock alone sometime after midnight. They'd heard thunder, then a splash, and assumed he'd fallen. No one claimed to have seen it happen. No one called for help until morning. Too tidy, too identical. She lingered over Max Enfield's statement. Precise. Formal. He mentioned Adam had been distracted lately, even hinted at depression. A suggestion of mental instability, subtle, plausible, and convenient. Helena jotted down the addresses listed for each friend at the time. Most were outdated. Only Lena Pike's contact was current, thanks to her business license tied to the Lake House retreat. Next, Helena visited the local sheriff's office. She flashed her PI credentials and asked to speak with anyone who'd worked the Crossley case. "That'd be Meeks," said the deputy at the front desk. "Retired 5 years ago. Lives out near Echo Ridge. Can I get an address?" The deputy hesitated. "You investigating something?" "Just following up on a cold case," Helena said. New evidence surfaced. She left with Meek's address on a post-it and a warning. "Don't expect him to be thrilled. He's not real fond of visitors." Echo Ridge was a winding road tucked between hills, the houses growing farther apart as she drove. She found Meek's place at the end of a gravel drive, flanked by rusting mailboxes and a wind-battered shed. He answered the door in a flannel shirt and scowl. "What do you want?" Helena offered a calm smile. "Just a few questions about the Crossley case." "Adam Crossley. That was 20 years ago. You closed it as accidental." "Because it was. Did you ever wonder why none of the stories conflicted? 5 teenagers, late at night, alcohol involved, and not one discrepancy?" He narrowed his eyes. "You calling me sloppy?" "No. I'm saying they rehearsed it, and you let them." That got him. He stepped back, motioned for her to enter. Inside, the house smelled of old coffee and stubborn pride. He pointed to the worn couch. "You want my opinion? It wasn't an accident. But I couldn't prove otherwise, and the parents wanted it quiet. You know who Max Enfield's uncle was, right?" Helena nodded. "The school principal. Whole thing stank, but I had no leverage, no forensics, and by the time I started digging, everyone had lawyered up. So you let it go." "I had no choice?" Helena stood. "I don't." As she drove away, her phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Lena agreed to meet. Tomorrow. At the lake house. Noon. Helena stared at the screen. Time to go back to where it all began. Chapter 3. The retreat. The lake hadn't changed. Helena stood by the car, surveying the glassy surface that stretched out in still, eerie calm. The trees lining the far shore swayed gently in the wind. And somewhere in the distance, a loon called a long, mournful cry that seemed to echo across decades. The lake house sat at the edge of the water, now expanded and renovated with rustic modern flair. A small carved sign by the gravel path read, "Tranquil Pines Wellness Retreat." Beneath it, in soft cursive, "Let go of what no longer serves you." Helena snorted quietly. How fitting. Inside, The main room had been transformed airy, minimal, all white oak and linen curtains. Diffused light filtered through tall windows. Candles flickered on wall-mounted shelves. A diffuser misted lavender into the air. Lena Pike stood barefoot by the fireplace, hands folded in front of her. She wore a pale green tunic and loose pants, her dark hair pulled into a low braid. She looked every bit the healer, except her eyes. Her eyes were guarded. "Rebecca told me you were coming," Lena said. "I almost said no. I'm glad you didn't." Helena took a seat across from her in a low armchair. Between them, a ceramic teapot steamed gently on the table. "Still make your own blends?" Helena asked. "I do. It helps. Memory too, sometimes." Lena offered a brittle smile. "Is that why you're here?" "I'm here because a photo surfaced, dated 2010. Adam was in it, alive. With you." The smile vanished. Lena looked away. Helena waited. Silence could be its own interrogation. "That trip," Lena said finally, "was supposed to be a celebration. We were all so ready to escape that town. Adam, he was different that week. Distracted. Angry. What was he angry about? I don't know. He was fighting with Max a lot. With all of us, really. Said we were blind. That something big was happening and we weren't doing anything about it. What was happening?" Lena shook her head slowly. "I wish I knew." Helena watched her closely. "I think you do. And I think it's eaten at you for 20 years. A flicker of pain crossed Lena's face. "You all told the same story," Helena continued. "Word for word. Because it's what we were told to say." That was new. Helena leaned forward. "By whom?" "Max and his uncle." Helena felt it, a ripple in her chest. That subtle pull again. "So you lied to the police?" Lena didn't respond right away. When she did, her voice was quieter. "We thought it would protect him. And us. But maybe we were just afraid." "Afraid of what?" Lena's gaze drifted toward the window. Outside, the lake shimmered. Adam knew something that night. Something dangerous. And we let him walk into that storm alone. Helena stood. He didn't walk. He ran. Lena blinked, startled. "How do you know?" "Because you're still watching the shoreline, Lena. As if you're waiting for him to come back." Chapter 4. The Pact. The lake air clung to Helena as she left the retreat. The wind had picked up, ruffling the trees and bringing a chill that seeped beneath her coat. Lena's words echoed with the weight of confession, but also with omission. Pieces were still missing. Back at her rental cottage, Helena spread the case materials across the bed, the police file, her notes from Meeks, and the photo. She stared at Adam's face again. The faint smile. The distance in his eyes. She scribbled on a fresh notepad. What did Adam know? And who wanted it buried? The next morning, she made a list of names. Max Enfield, Tristan Bell, Heather Maris, Cam Rivera. She circled the first Max and underlined it twice. According to public records, Max was now a corporate lawyer in Chicago. High-profile firm. Clean record. But 20 years ago, he'd been the golden boy. Star quarterback. School board nephew. Untouchable. She dialed his firm. The assistant who answered was chipper until Helena introduced herself. "Mr. Enfield is unavailable, indefinitely. This isn't a sales call. I'm a private investigator following up on a historical case." "I'm sorry, Ms. Monroe. Mr. Enfield has no comment." Click. Helena didn't bother calling again. Instead, she tracked down Cam Rivera, now a community college art instructor 2 hours south of the lake. A phone call turned into a coffee shop meeting. He arrived 10 minutes late, hands jammed into his coat pockets, eyes avoiding hers. "Thanks for agreeing to meet," Helena said. "Didn't really have a choice. You said you found a photo?" Helena placed it on the table between them. Cam's face paled. Where did this come from? Mailbox, Rebecca's. He stared at the image, then pushed it back as if it burned. You thought Adam was dead, Helena said. But he wasn't. Not in 2010. We didn't know that. I swear. After that weekend, he was gone. None of us ever saw him again. So what happened that night? Cam shook his head. I can't. Can't or won't. Max made us swear. He said if anyone talked, we'd all go down. Go down for what? Cam looked around, lowered his voice. We made a pact. Not just about Adam, about everything. The teacher, the threats, what Adam was planning to expose. Helena's breath caught. What teacher? He hesitated, then barely audible. Mr. Harrow. The name clicked. The chemistry teacher. Fired quietly the summer after Adam's disappearance. No charges filed, just gone. Adam had evidence. Cam continued. Journals, photos, recordings. He said Harrow had crossed lines, manipulated students. Maybe worse. He said the school knew, and Max's uncle covered it up. Helena felt the ripple again, stronger this time. Why didn't you come forward? Because Adam disappeared before he could go public. And when Max said we'd be blamed for it, we panicked. Blamed for what? Cam looked her in the eye. For making him disappear. Helena sat back slowly. The circle was tightening. If Adam was silenced to bury a scandal, someone still had something to lose. Chapter 5. Ghosts in the Dark. Rain slicked the roads as Helena drove back to the lake. The wipers carved rhythmic arcs across the windshield, matching the growing unease in her chest. The name Harrow rang louder now. She'd seen men like him before, respected, protected, and rotten underneath. At the retreat, the guests were gone for the week. A sign on the gate read, "Closed for seasonal reset." Lena had texted her that morning, saying she had something to show her, something she hadn't shared with anyone. The house was silent when Helena arrived. Lena met her at the door, pale and sleep-deprived. I shouldn't be doing this, she said. But it's time. She led Helena to the old basement, now a storage space for yoga mats and meditation cushions. In the far corner, behind a false panel, Lena revealed a rusted metal lockbox. Adam gave this to me, the night before he disappeared. Told me not to open it unless something happened to him. I buried it under the dock years ago. Dug it back up last month. Couldn't look at it until now. Helena opened the box slowly. Inside, a small voice recorder, a flash drive, and a notebook. The notebook held names, dates, locations, notes in Adam's rushed handwriting. At least 3 students had filed anonymous complaints about Harrow. One had vanished the summer before Adam did. Helena's pulse ticked faster. Why didn't you turn this in? Because I didn't believe it back then. I thought Adam was obsessed, paranoid. But after he disappeared, I was afraid it would make us suspects. And now? Lena swallowed. Now I know he was right. Helena pocketed the recorder and flash drive. I'll go through everything, but this changes things. If Harrow knew Adam planned to expose him, he may not have acted alone. Lena's voice cracked. You think he was murdered? I think someone made him disappear and made sure the rest of you stayed silent. That night, Helena stayed up at the cottage, reviewing the flash drive. It contained scanned documents, class rosters, staff memos, even a blurry image of Harrow entering the principal's office late at night. There was a pattern. The same group of students granted private study access, same ones who struggled after Harrow left. One had attempted suicide, one had run away, and Adam had been compiling it all. The voice recorder was harder. Helena pressed play. Adam's voice filled the room. If you're hearing this, something went wrong. I have what I need to bring them down. Harrow, Enfield, maybe more. I don't know who I can trust anymore, not even the others. Lena's scared. Heather thinks I'm losing it. Max keeps trying to talk me down. But I can't ignore this. Someone has to stop him. And if they won't help me, I'll do it myself. The tape ended there. Helena stared at the player. Not just a missing person, not just a scandal. This was sabotage from inside the circle. Chapter 6. Loose Threads. By dawn, Helena had pieced together a new timeline. Adam had gathered evidence for weeks, maybe months, against Harrow, and, by extension, those protecting him. The retreat guests, the image of serenity Lena had curated, now felt like a mask stretched over rotting wood. She packed up her files and drove to the regional school board offices. It was time to follow the money. A few well-placed names earned her a meeting with a retired administrator who had worked at the high school back then. When Helena dropped the name Harrow, the woman's expression changed. "I shouldn't talk about that," she said. Helena leaned in. "But you remember something." "I remember he left quietly. We were told to say he had family issues. But there were whispers. And one day, a student named Eli Tanners just stopped coming to school. No graduation, no transfer records, nothing. Eli Tanners. The name was in Adam's notebook. Was anyone ever questioned?" The woman shook her head. "Not that I know of. It all vanished, like it never happened." Helena thanked her and left, noting down the address of the Tanners family from a 20-year-old directory. That afternoon, she stood on the porch of a small farmhouse. A man in his late 50s answered the door, Eli's father. Helena explained who she was, and he stared at her for a long time. "Eli died 2 years ago," he said. "But he was never the same after Harrow. My wife and I, well, we did what we could." Helena stepped carefully. "Do you believe what Adam was trying to prove?" He nodded. "Eli told us bits and pieces. Harrow favoured certain boys, kept them close, late-night tutoring, trips. Eli said something bad happened at the lake house that summer. Then Adam vanished. And Eli changed." Helena's voice tightened. "What kind of bad?" "He never said, but he had nightmares for years. Couldn't be near water." Helena left with a knot in her gut. She returned to her cottage to find Rebecca waiting outside. "I found something," Rebecca said. Her hands were shaking. "In one of Adam's old yearbooks. Look." She held it open to a photo from a school event. There, off to the side, barely visible in the background, stood Mr. Harrow and Principal Enfield. Between them, Max and Adam. All three staring directly at the camera. Helena took the book, heart racing. They weren't just covering for Harrow. They were part of it. Adam was going to name them all. Rebecca's voice broke. "He tried to stop it, didn't he? That's why they made him disappear." Helena nodded. "And now someone's sending warnings." Rebecca blinked. "What do you mean?" Helena pulled out the envelope the photo came in. There was now a second one. It had been slipped under her door. No return address. Inside, another photo. This time, of her, taken from the woods behind the cottage. Chapter 7. Uncovered. Helena didn't sleep. She sat in the dim light of the cottage living room, the photo of herself spread across the table. Someone had been close, watching. That meant everything she'd dug up. The lockbox, the names, the patterns was getting too close to the truth. By morning, she drove back to Lena's retreat, finding her already outside, pacing. Lena's hands trembled. "Rebecca called me," she said. "The photo. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but we need to talk about Harrow, about Max, about what really happened." Lena hesitated. "You think Max was involved in that?" "I think Adam did, and I think he was right." Helena handed her a copy of Adam's notebook, flipping to the page that mentioned Harrow's secret tutoring sessions. Lena paled as she read. "He made us feel special," Lena whispered. "He treated us like we mattered. But there were always lines, things he said, questions that made your skin crawl. Adam told me once he thought Max knew more than he was saying, that Max was protecting Harrow, or protecting someone bigger." Helena stared across the lake. Later that day, she returned to town and met with a retired journalist named Elaine Royce, who had covered school board politics for years. When Helena mentioned Enfield, Elaine's eyes narrowed. He had influence, killed more than one story. "I tried to write about Harrow's quiet firing back then. My editor shut it down, said it came from way above his pay grade." "You ever hear of the lake house being used for off-the-record meetings?" Elaine nodded slowly. "That was an open secret. Donor weekends, private school events. I wouldn't be surprised if more happened there than anyone ever admitted." Helena pressed. "What about Adam Crossley? Bright kid, stubborn. I heard whispers he was planning something, an expose or petition, maybe. Then nothing." Back at the cottage, Helena found another package at her door. Inside, a memory card. She loaded it into her laptop. A grainy video played. A room dimly lit, familiar. It was the lake house basement. Adam was filming. His voice was tense. "This is proof. Harrow, Enfield, and Max. If anything happens to me, look here. I think they know I'm onto them. I won't stop." The door in the footage creaked open. Adam turned. A shadow moved across the lens. Then static. Helena stared at the frozen screen, heart pounding. Adam had left a trail, and now someone was trying to erase it. Chapter 8. The Tipping Point. Helena didn't report the photo. Not yet. She knew the moment she involved local law enforcement, whoever was behind this would retreat further into the shadows. And she was too close to let them vanish again. Instead, she made copies. One went into her hidden lockbox under the floorboards. The other stayed in her notebook, right beside Adam's last known notes. She needed to rattle someone, and Max Enfield was the best place to start. His firm still refused to schedule a meeting, but Helena wasn't interested in asking twice. She drove to Chicago and waited outside his office tower. When Max finally emerged, sharp suit, leather briefcase, Bluetooth headset in his ear, she stepped directly into his path. "Max Enfield, Helena Monroe, we need to talk." He looked her over, face a practiced mask. "I have nothing to say." She opened her bag and showed him the photo of Adam, the one from 2010, the one with Lena. His eyes flickered. "Where did you get that?" "Mailbox. Same place the latest one came from." "You want to see it?" "It's of me. Taken from the woods behind my rental. Someone sending messages. I'm assuming you still have friends who'd know who." Max's voice dropped. "You don't understand the damage you're doing." Helena stepped closer. "Adam trusted someone. Then he vanished. You think that damage was less?" He didn't answer. "You know what happened," she continued. "You may not have done it, but you covered it up. And if someone's starting to panic now, it means the truth is clawing its way out. I suggest you decide which side of it you want to be on." She left him standing in the street. That night, Helena returned to the lake. Rebecca called. Her voice was unsteady. "I remembered something," she said. "The night Adam disappeared. He told me he'd hidden a box somewhere, something with names. But I thought it was just paranoia. He made me swear not to tell. But now, I think I know where it is." Helena met her just before dawn. Together, they walked the overgrown path behind the old dock. Rebecca knelt by a moss-covered stone. "Here." They dug in silence until the shovel struck wood. A small metal box, wrapped in plastic. Inside, more pages from Adam's journal, backup copies of student statements, and a USB drive. He left 2 copies, Helena said. He knew someone might find the first. Rebecca looked at her. You think he planned his own disappearance? No, but he planned for betrayal. As they walked back, headlights flashed down the narrow trail. A vehicle idled near the edge of the retreat. Someone was watching. Helena grabbed Rebecca's hand and ducked behind a tree. The car pulled away seconds later, no plates. Just silence in its wake. Someone knew they were getting close. Chapter 9. Shattered Silence. The contents of the second box hit harder than Helena expected. Adam's journal entries were darker, angrier. There were names underlined in red: Max, Harrow, Enfield, and notes on the school's attempts to suppress complaints. One page, torn and nearly illegible, mentioned a private meeting planned for the night he disappeared. Helena scanned the USB drive. It contained encrypted audio files and a single unmarked video, Adam filming a confrontation inside the retreat. The footage was shaky. Harrow's voice, unmistakable, snarled something about Adam not knowing what doors he was opening, and then Max appeared in the frame. Helena froze the screen. This wasn't just guilt by association. Max had been there. She printed stills from the video and drove to the state police office. This time, she needed to force the system to act. With the new evidence, audio, video, and 2 witnesses willing to talk, she demanded a review of Adam's case. The officer on duty didn't dismiss her. Instead, he made a call. And within an hour, a cold case investigator named Martinez agreed to meet. Helena laid it all out. Martinez, skeptical at first, shifted as she showed the images. Where was this filmed? He asked. Here, at the lake house. Same place Adam vanished. And we now have 2 different boxes with evidence that tie Harrow, Max Enfield, and Principal Enfield to ongoing abuse and cover-up. Martinez exhaled. That's enough to open a formal inquiry, but you know what happens now, right? They'll start cleaning house. Fast and dirty. Helena left the precinct, knowing things would move quickly now and dangerously. Back at the cottage, Rebecca was pacing. I told Lena everything. She's scared. Says she thought Harrow was just a manipulator. She didn't know how far it went. People never want to know, Helena said. A knock at the door. Helena stiffened. It was Lena. She was shaking. Max called me, said to keep quiet, that people like me don't survive storms like this. Helena let her in. Then it's already started. We're going to finish this, Lena, but you need to be honest with me. Everything. Lena hesitated, then pulled out a small, battered, leather-bound planner. This is mine, from that summer. I kept track of everything. And there's one thing I never told anyone. She flipped to a folded page, revealing a Polaroid. Adam, bruised, shirt torn, sitting on the dock. The photo was time-stamped, the night he disappeared. Chapter 10. What Remains. The photo shattered the last wall of doubt. Adam hadn't run away. He hadn't drowned. He'd been hurt. And someone had documented it. That meant someone close, maybe even Lena, had known all along. Helena studied the Polaroid, the bruises, the fear in Adam's eyes. The timestamp placed him alive just hours before the official timeline claimed he vanished. Lena stood silently beside her. He gave it to me the next morning, she whispered. Said, if anything happens, keep this safe. But I was scared. I put it away and tried to forget. Did you ever ask who hurt him? Lena's face crumpled. He didn't need to say it. We both knew. Harrow had lost control. And Max didn't stop it. Helena handed her the planner back. They're not going to get away with it. Not this time. Within days, the investigation turned national. Martinez pushed the cold case open publicly, leveraging the video and Lena's planner. Enfield retired unexpectedly. Harrow's name surfaced again, this time tied to sealed legal settlements from another district, and Max Enfield vanished. His firm claimed he was on sabbatical. His phone went dark. Helena wasn't surprised. Rebecca appeared at the cottage a week later. The wind off the lake had turned colder, biting through the early fall sun. "You're leaving, aren't you?" she asked. Helena nodded. "The rest is in motion, and I'm not what comes next." "You cracked it open. You gave him back his voice." Helena looked toward the water. "He never stopped fighting, even when the rest of you gave up. He wanted the truth out. He left the trail for someone to follow." Rebecca stepped closer. "Thank you for following it." Helena didn't answer. She just nodded. She left the lake before sunrise. As she packed, she tucked the second copy of Adam's notebook into a manila envelope and slid it into a safe deposit box in town. Insurance. Then she drove. The woods thinned. The roads widened. But something stayed heavy in her chest. Some truths, she'd learned, weren't meant to bring closure. Just clarity. That night, at a roadside diner, she opened her laptop to a new message. No subject. No sender. Inside, a single line of text. "You missed one." Below it, a photo. Not Adam. Another boy. New. Still missing. Helena closed the laptop slowly. She reached for her notebook, turned to a fresh page, and wrote down a name. A new case, another truth, and a promise. Not this time. End of chapter and end of book. Like and subscribe to support our channel and to listen to more intriguing investigative stories.